Hi. The day is the 14th of February 2024, Valentine's Day. As everyone had predicted, a new newsletter came out today. It was great. It had a really cute interview with Gigi, an illustrator for Undertale and Deltarune. They talked about Cucumber Quest, Toriel Slippers, and this really beautiful art of Mettaton looking stunningly sexy as usual. We got more official Undertale yaoi, that's always good. And we got an update regarding the progress of chapters 3 and 4, which are looking on track to release this year. Oh, and of course, we can't forget that we got more Spampton Valley Network content. That's what truly matters this Valentine's. Or, that's what I would say, were it not for the one very notable elephant in the room. You see, Toby, that absolutely insane white hound, made personalized Valentine's letter from a bunch of characters. So if you're the kind of person who wanted to get a letter of a UTDR character expressing their undying affection, or if you just wanted to get pranked by Sans again, today really was your day. Especially if the character you wanted to express their love for you was Gaster. So, this is big. This is absolutely massive. Ridiculously insane. It's hard to overemphasize how important this is. Gaster, mystery man, him, sent us a Valentine's letter. And that's what we're going to be dissecting here today. Because god damn it, it's a lot. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I have a lot, and I mean a lot to say about this. But first, we need to cover our bases. How do we know for sure that this is Gaster? Let's start at the beginning. Immediately, the first line is an obvious Gaster red flag. The Valentine's card is said to be a strange letter that is completely illegible. This matches closely with the blueprints with the strange symbols from Sans' secret workshop in Undertale. This doesn't immediately mean it's Gaster, but there's more in this that we need to acknowledge that links it back to Gaster. We all remember the Deltarune Chapter 1 release tweets, right? The ones that were definitely written by Gaster for us? Well, there's another tweet from that batch that is often forgotten, and it's the one that prefaces them all. It's cold. It's as if everything had been enveloped in a black wind. We didn't realize it yet, but it seems that there's someone who wants to talk to you. This might seem unrelated at first, but let me explain. This tweet seems to be setting the stage for our Gaster encounter, almost as if presenting a diegesis where the following message will be received by us. Just like what this initial bracketed line seems to do. These two facts together strongly point to this being somehow Gaster related. And that, my friends, is just the first line. It gets better. Let's skip over the next bracketed line, as it doesn't really tell us much, very explicitly at least, that relates back to Gaster. Though it does have some metatextual subtext I may dissect. Then, Toby slaps with the most blatant Gastery lines of the whole letter.
Well, Happy New Year. Or was it the old year? Well, in any case, how is it?
Oh boy. Let's break it down. First off, the syntax. Single letter taking a single line before the rest of the sentence plays out in the next line. Sound familiar? It should. That's some premium Gaster content right there. We got that in the tweets, in the Gunner Maker, in entry 17. If it's got Gaster's fingerprints, it's got this strange syntax. And lo and behold, there it is. Then there's the real linchpin. The thing that convinced me it can't be anyone other than Gaster.
How is it?
What a very, very interesting question to be asking, dear Valentine. Seems as if whoever is writing has a vested interest in us enjoying Deltarune. Almost as if, say, they made a connection for us to enjoy it. Furthermore, The way this is written, not as a singular word but as two separate words, is very particular. Delta Rune is only written like this in a handful of locations. First, by Gerson when talking about it in Undertale, and secondly by Ralsei in the Prophecy. Focusing on that second one, Gaster also has a relation to the Prophecy. As most of you are probably aware of by now, Deltarune.com has existed for a while, and a snapshot of it exists since 2016 with an image titled him.png with Wingdings writing that recites an excerpt from Ralsei's Prophecy. Maybe Gaster wrote it himself, but that's besides the point, and a theory way outside of the scope of this short analysis. Let's continue.
As you are waiting patiently, the time is going around.
Once more, Gaster canonically acknowledges the wait between chapters. Once again, he's the only character we've seen explicitly do this for obvious reasons. He is, after all, the one canonically responsible for those waits. So if you ever get upset about the wait for future chapters, blame Gaster, he probably forgot. Furthermore, the phrase, "the time is going around," is very reminiscent of Jevil, with his obsession with the world's rotation and the strange grammar that resembles Jevil's own writing style. Maybe this suggests that the way Jevil speaks is a product of his encounter with Gaster? Perhaps, but that feels like pure speculation at best.
There was even a rumor of Valentine's Day. How absurd. Every day is a day of love. If only you believe it so. Do you believe it so?
Let's move past this one for now.
So the purpose of this message, I want to help. Yes, there was someone I wanted to help. I seem to have forgotten who.
Okay, so I don't want to alarm anyone, but this might just be the thing we, as theorists and Deltarune fans, have been scratching our heads over the past 6 years trying to solve. And here it is. Plain as day. Gaster's motivation. We've had many, and I mean many, takes of what the hell Gaster is even up to in Deltarune. Is he trying to fix the time loop, trying to piece himself back together, trying to give the characters a happy ending? No one really knows. But now, we have a clue. Gaster wants to help. Help someone. Who? Well, we don't know, and apparently Gaster doesn't either. Or at least, he doesn't remember. There's obviously a lot to unpack here, but let's move swiftly right along.
Yes, it is quite ironic, but I seem to have forgotten. Regardless, when I see them, I am certain I will know it straight away. I never forget someone I don't remember.
Gaster himself seems to acknowledge how ironic it is that he of all people has forgotten someone. It was never explicitly confirmed that memory of Gaster was wiped from the world of Undertale. It was always more of a popular headcanon with only some evidence. But now, this seems to strongly suggest that it's an accurate theory. Beyond that, he seems to give soft confirmation that the person he wanted to help wasn't himself, or rather someone else, which is, nice of him, I guess? Though the added, well, perhaps, make even that doubtful. Then there's the line, "I never forget someone I don't remember." What a very strange, inscrutable line. The best I can relate it to is "don't forget." Seems as if Gaster took it to heart? Or maybe didn't? I don't know, this is also weird.
Will you help me?
You are very odd. Responding out loud to a letter. But you seem reliable.
This excerpt is perhaps the most bizarre. The first bit appears easy, after all. Gaster has implied many times that he needs our help to make this connection to Deltarune and reach that bright new future with him. The strange thing is what comes next. Gaster responds as if whoever he's writing to replied to him? Something along those lines, specifically calling out how it was strange to be responding out loud to a letter, but that despite it, the recipient is reliable. I see two possible explanations. Either this is supposed to target the players or readers reading the letter and responding out loud out of excitement, preemptively calling them out on it, or Gaster is messaging some other in-universe character. Who? Maybe a secret boss? Maybe some Jaru-esque indirect diegesis soul? I do not know, and it seems odd considering the rest of the letter. Let's continue.
Now put on your coat and wash your face. Or put on your face and wash your coat. Not necessarily in that order, or in any order at all. Goodbye.
What a funny little guy. There's not really much to connect this to Gaster specifically, unless you want to try and connect this with a darker than dark chair from the sweepstakes, which might have a coat? Still, it's important characterization of, if not Gaster, whoever is writing. I find it interesting that the writer writes goodbye without the E though. Not sure what exactly that indicates, but it's something. Something very strange for Gaster to do. There was a sound like something walking away, and the letter was gone. And that's all she wrote. Sometime after it was discovered, from my understanding only a few minutes, the letter was entirely redacted. Very similar to how Gaster tends to be redacted out of merch. Erased from reality, only temporarily able to communicate through tweets. So, that's it. That's the whole letter. What the fuck, Toby? Okay. Calm down. Let's take a step back and try to gather all our thoughts and find out what this tells us. First, the million-dollar question. Is this Gaster? The answer? Inconclusive. On one hand, we've gone over all the signposting that relates this letter back to Gaster. The way it begins, the syntax and formatting, the knowledge of Deltarune, and wondering whether we are enjoying it, wanting our help, the recognition of the irony of him forgetting someone else, and most crucially of all, the fact it was redacted. All of these facts point to a singular figure. Good old W.D. Gaster. However, there's a handful of wrinkles, of inconsistencies that suggest that such a simple answer isn't exactly accurate. First off, the tone. This whole letter is so casual, so informal, so, for lack of a better term, silly, which is very much unlike the Gaster we're familiar with from the tweets and from the Goner Maker. The one writing this doesn't know if you should wash your face and put on your coat or wash your coat and put on your face. They appear forgetful and lost, not at all like the entirely composed and formal version of Gaster we're so used to. They don't even appear to know who he wants to help, and thus what their overarching goal is. Which is strange if it really is Gaster. They also seem to be warm and empathetic, somewhat unlike the colder, more detached, clinical Gaster we've been privy to. Some of their dialogue is not too dissimilar from the tone of a river person riddle, actually. There's also the conversation happening in the letter itself, which seems to have Gaster asking for help from someone, presumably us, which is odd considering we already agreed to his ominous license agreement. Maybe he's talking to a secret boss, needing their help with his ultimate goal? That doesn't really make sense either, considering his appeals to the real-world time between chapters and Deltarune itself. There's little to no doubt in my mind that this letter is meant for us, and not an in-universe character. It's just the odd responding out loud to a letter and, but you seem reliable, which is throwing me off. Supposedly, Gaster is always watching though, so he might be watching you read this message in real time? Maybe. That's the best guess I have. Then there's the similar discrepancies found in the Japanese version, which is written in kanji rather than Gaster's seemingly usual katakana. I don't know any Japanese though, so I can't speak on the intricacies of the difference. From my research though, it appears even the Japanese community is divided on the significance of these discrepancies to what would otherwise be an undeniable Gaster sighting. So, where does that leave us? Is this Gaster? Is it not? If it isn't him, who could it be? And furthermore, Why include all these blatant Gaster calling cards if it's another character? These are all good questions. I don't know the answers. I can, however, give my opinion on what I think this all means. Gaster's a silly goober, we are so back! I, for one, welcome the new evidence to support my headcanon that Gaster isn't just a super uptight, informal character 100% of the time. I feel like the trope of the stuffy, mysterious, and emotionally distant scientist is overdone. And frankly, kinda dull. But having Gaster be somewhat of a more complicated character, with a goofy and sentimental side, makes him so much more engaging. Call it confirmation bias if you must, but you can't deny that this letter has several signs pointing to Gaster's authorship. Anyway, that's enough formalities. It's time to reveal the real point of the video. I need to talk about how this letter perfectly matches the version of Gaster from Entries from the Void. Okay, so for the uninitiated, Entries from the Void is a fic I wrote last year. It follows Gaster, Des, and Kara in the Void before the events of Deltarune. So why am I bringing this up? Well, let's start off with a minor spoiler warning for entries, for those interested in reading. I'll only be spoiling the first few entries, so it's not too big of a deal. In Entries from the Void, Gaster is tasked with taking care of the kids that drop into his little void space. In his attempt to try and give December a way back home, she becomes lost. The rest of the fic focuses on Gaster and Kara attempting to find a way to find her and help her get back. Are you starting to see the parallels? The writer of the letter talks about wanting to help someone. Interestingly, he says the person he's trying to help is perhaps himself, too. In Entries, Gaster's journey to help December isn't just focused on that, but also partly focused on learning from his past mistakes and bettering himself. In a way, helping himself while helping someone else. Beyond the simple narrative similarities, the most obvious and crucial element of the comparison is just his characterization. The AO3 tags don't lie, folks. Entries Gaster is quite silly. He's a dork, he's somewhat awkward, and he still puts a strong emphasis on the importance of love and connection. I can't go too in depth, you can just read the fic yourself. But multiple people have told me that the writing style of the letter reminded them of my characterization of Gaster, which I'm flattered by. Gaster can still be mysterious and strange while being personable and sentimental, I think. It all boils down to his motivation and goals. And from this letter, it appears his goals are at least partially altruistic, rather than just purely scientific intrigue, which I love! I like that Gaster seems to want to help someone, be it Des, Chris, or someone else. Moving away from talking about entries, it's about time I give my final thoughts. My final picture of what I think this letter is hinting at. And, basically, I think that Toby might just be speeding in the exact direction of the loose plot of Entries from the Void. Gaster summoning outside help to aid in finding December. But beyond that, this letter highlights something even more important.
How is it?
This line isn't here just to signpost Gaster. Rather, it plays an important role in Gaster's meta-narrative role. Gaster is, in many ways, a representation of an author. Not of Toby Fox, but he takes the role of the one who has created something. He wants us to experience it, to enjoy it, and finally, to help it reach its conclusion by continuing to play. But that, my friends, is a discussion for a future video. I know the care analysis was promised over a year ago, and it is finally looking like it may come out within the coming months. But I have yet another video analysis cooking before the release of the next chapters. I am finally taking a swing at the biggest questions in the community. Gaster, the angel, heaven, this bright new future, the roaring. What does it all mean? Stay tuned, because all those questions and more are going to be answered in my next video. Reality, freedom, and fandom. Deltarune's Angel and Dr. W.D. Gaster. Coming? Not soon, not anytime soon for sure. However, If you want to see it sooner, you should support me on Patreon. Or just subscribe. Until then,
Goodbye.